Hi, so this is a video that's all about profit, something we all like to keep a close eye on. What we're going to do is we're going to cover some concepts of profit, net profit, gross profit and so on, look at the different things that affect profit, when you can see profit, and how to view your profitability using Brightpearl. So first of all, let's look at some business basics. How is profit calculated? At the very top here we've got the sales revenue, which includes shipping, of $10. The cost of sales, which is the cost of the inventory that we're shipping, comes in at $5, and then the cost of the shipping itself, so what I pay my carriers, comes in at $1. Now this revenue and this cost will scale the busier you get, so it's effectively called direct costs and direct revenue. And the revenue less your direct costs gives you the gross profit, and here we've got $4. After that, you add in wages, rent, overheads, and things that are not related to the sale, which finally gives you your net profit at the end of the day. And the net profit is really what we want to find out in order to make real business decisions, which is about timing. So the sooner you can get in all of your costs, the sooner you get visibility over your net profit. So the place to see your gross profit and your net profit is the profit and loss report, which is an accounting report, and it's only useful when all accounting transactions have been completed. So to show revenue on your profit and loss, you need to invoice a sale, effectively post it into the accounting system. To show the cost of sales, you need to ship the sale. And to show other direct expenses, you need to enter bills for various suppliers. Maybe your shipping supplier, perhaps you've got some sales channel fees from eBay or Amazon. And then to get the net profit, below this line, we need to enter bills for overheads and also enter wages and other accounting transactions. And it's only when we've entered all of these can we see our actual net profit. So before I move on, let's have a quick look at cost of sales, or cost of goods sold. And the cost of sales depends on what you paid for the inventory in the first place, and that's why it's so important to have your purchase order system in the same system as your sales order processing. But the price you pay for inventory can vary with every single purchase order. So, to get exact cost of sales, we use a first in, first out inventory costing method, and there's a separate video all about that. So a couple of important points. The actual cost of goods sold is known only when the goods ship, using the first in, first out methodology, and the actual profit on an order is known only when the order is shipped and invoiced, so the shipped for the cost of sales and the invoiced for the revenue. However, in the real world, you probably want to see profitability regardless of whether orders have been shipped or invoiced. So, in Brightpearl, until goods are shipped, the order cost value comes from the product price on the cost price list, which gives us something called profit at a glance. So in your Brightpearl account, go to the Setup Sales Settings screen, and then click Yes to show the Cost tab on the Sales Edit screen. This will also show the Profit at a glance on the bottom of the Sales Listing screen. And here we've got a single sales order where the revenue is 20 and the cost is 10, which gives us a profit of 10. But you can see we've not yet shipped and not yet invoiced this order. If I open up this order, we can see that there's a cost tab, and this red bopple hat costs us $10, we're selling for 20, which gives us a $10 profit. And this is what we call profit at a glance. This is calculating the expected profit based on the cost price list for this item. This is also the same information we see on our sales reports. So here, for example, the sales by brand. The cost is 10, the net revenue is 20, which gives us a profit of 10. If I go to my profit and loss report, which is called income statement in the US, we can see that it's completely empty, which demonstrates that the profit at a glance is available to us way before any accounting transactions have been made, which is really useful for reacting quickly. It's important to recognize that profit at a glance is your expected profit, which is not necessarily the actual profit you will make or have made. What it does is it provides early indication of profit to help you make decisions sooner, and it can be different from the value shown on the profit and loss report. But for one given sales order, the profit at a glance will show the same information as the profit and loss report for orders shipped following release 451, since we now also update the cost value on the sale with the FIFO value when the goods are actually shipped. So what we'll do now is we'll see how profit at a glance works in Brightpearl. We've seen that this particular sale contains a red hat, and the cost price of that hat is $10. If I open up that product, let's search for hat, Click to edit, and then in the Prices tab you can see the cost comes in at $10, which has the value on the profit at a glance. If I change this to $15 and go back to the sales list, we can see that the value has not yet changed. I need to go into the sale and save it once, which takes a copy of that new cost price and brings it in as the cost price on the order. But let's say we actually buy some of this inventory at $16. Let's go and create a purchase order to do that. So the cost price is brought in from our cost price list as normal, but in this particular scenario the supplier is charging us extra. We'll receive the inventory, which creates our first line of inventory valued at $16, and we can see that from the product's inventory detail report, where here the value is $16. Going back to the sales list and opening up the sale, the cost price is still 15 because that's what it is on the cost price list. It's only when we fulfill and ship the sale that we know the actual cost price of the inventory that was shipped. So when we go to fulfill and mark as shipped, going back to the cost tab, we can now see that the sale has been updated to reflect the true cost of sales. From my profit and loss report or income statement, I can see that I only have a cost now. So the $16 here on cost of goods sold, that's because I've only shipped the sales order. I haven't yet invoiced it. So now let's invoice that sale. Go back to the sales list, select the sales we want to invoice, and there we are. We have an invoice number. We're done. Let's go back to the income statement, where we can see the revenue of $20 less the costs of goods sold gives us the gross profit of $4. We haven't yet accounted for overheads, shipping costs, or anything like that, so this is purely a raw gross profit figure. And it's the same figure we see on our sales reports. So let's go Reports, and let's choose any of these. Let's pick Sales by Product, where we can see that the cost is $16 and the revenue, the net revenue, is $20. So that's all very well when we're shipping goods from our own warehouse, we're placing purchase orders, we're receiving inventory where we know the value that then later ships. But what about drop ship goods that don't come through our warehouse? What happens here is that the cost of sale for the drop shipped items is added directly to the profit and loss report when the drop ship purchase order is invoiced. And you can tell the difference between a drop ship purchase order and a standard purchase order is because the drop ship purchase order has line items using cost of sales codes that start with 5, and a standard purchase order has line items that use asset codes. So, in the first case where you're shipping your own goods, you place a purchase order, you then receive the goods in, which gives you inventory value, you then ship the goods, which gives you cost of sales, and then you invoice the sales order to show the revenue. But in the right hand side here we've got drop shipping, where you create a drop ship purchase order, the invoice of that goes straight to cost of sales, and then you invoice the sales order. So let's see how that works in Brightpearl. We're going to create a new sales order, but this time we're going to drop ship it. We're not going to ship it from our own warehouse. We're going to sell a hat, which comes in at $20 sale. In my products and inventory settings, I've turned on advanced or partial fulfillment, which lets me drop ship. This particular product has none in stock, but I've connected it to a dropship supplier, and the dropship supplier is connected to the cost price list. At the moment, the cost price for this item on that price list is $15. Let's choose a shipping method and then create a purchase order. This is a dropship purchase order, which I can access via this link. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drop the price. So even though my cost price list shows 15, the dropship purchase order is only going to show 12. This 12 is not reflected on the sales order until I invoice the dropship purchase order. So if we go back to the sales order, in the cost tab we can see it's still 15. Going back to the purchase order, and then receiving the invoice for the purchase order, put the vendor invoice reference in there. I can choose to update my cost price list if I want, so that the next purchase order comes in at £12 rather than the original 15, but I won't do that to demonstrate this principle. So here we're receiving the invoice at $12. Going back to the parent sales order, we can now see that the total cost for this order, i.e. the cost of the sale, is $12. Let's have a look at the income statement, or the profit and loss report, to see how that's been put straight on to drop shipped goods. If I go back to the purchase order, then we can see how that's happening. So we'll go Purchases, Recent Purchase Orders, open up that PO, where we can see the line item here, the account code, has been assigned 5005 dropship goods, whereas a standard purchase order, it would be an inventory code. And I've actually set this dropship supplier to have its own account code, which helps me differentiate dropship cost of sales from standard cost of sales. And in the same way we close off sales orders that we're shipping from our own warehouse, we need to invoice the dropship sale. So here on the right hand side, I'll just click Invoice. What we'll now see on the income statement of profit and loss is $20 revenue and $12 cost. So here's the 20 revenue and the 12 cost. And this is also what we'll see on the sales reports. $12 cost and $20 revenue. So what we saw there were two ways to show profit on a sales order. One was where we shipped the sale with our own goods, and the other was where we drop shipped the sale directly from supplier to customer. But what we've not looked at yet is some other factors to consider when we're reporting profit. So the landed cost is a fairly complex concept, and that's where you might want to incorporate the cost of getting the goods to you. So the price that you show on your reports is not actually just the net cost from the supplier, it also includes a little bit of shipping. There's a whole separate video on landed cost, which you should definitely watch. The other aspect to look out for is timing. So if you ship the goods on one day and invoice on another day, then the potential is for the cost of sale and the revenue to appear in different accounting periods. So watch out for that. Also, the shipping costs are generally not able to be assigned to a specific sales order because you enter these monthly with a supplier bill. So you'll see these on the profit and loss report, but you won't see the cost of shipping on your sales report, which is really just for products. Then you've got sales channel fees. So for Amazon, these are created automatically in your accounting system when the Amazon payments report is downloaded. This just goes straight to your accounting system, however. This is not shown on the sales orders themselves. With sales channels fees from eBay, you'd get a monthly bill from eBay for the fees, and you'd enter that, again, directly into the accounting system, so that won't show up on a per sale basis. In a similar way, payment fees would be entered manually as a supplier bill. Perhaps they send you a commission statement once a month. The exception to this is PayPal, especially when connected to eBay, where the actual fees themselves can be reconciled straight into the accounting system as the sales come in. However, they're still not on the sale, so your sales reports, your profit at a glance, will just show the cost of goods rather than the cost of the payments as well. So that was a whistle-stop tour through the concepts of profitability and how to see profit in Brightpearl.